Are you still setting goals for yourself in 2025 and finding it difficult to work on those goals? If setting goals was enough and all you had to do was set goals, then every single person would be able to achieve their goals. But both you and I know that that isn't how it is. If you're tired of setting goals and would rather achieve those goals, stick around because this one thing that I'm sharing can help you with your life goals. Hi and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Actionables podcast. My name is Peyton. In case we haven't met before, I work as an NLP life coach, and I have worked with a lot of clients who tell me that they set goals regularly, but they still find it difficult to work on those goals. In this episode, I want to discuss a simple method which I call O.R.S. that I use instead of doing a typical goal setting exercise, which normally doesn't work, and how you can benefit from using this. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly what to do instead of just doing another typical goal setting exercise. So let's get into it. Every self-help book that I have read so far, and I've read quite a lot of them, every single one of these self-help books suggests that you write down your goals. Now, of course, this is a good and valid suggestion, but this is only the first part. Some people may get stuck on this part alone. They may get into the habit of simply writing down their goals and believe that they are getting clearer and this is going to help them. What I found in my experience is writing down goals is a great place to start. I even believe that putting down your desires on paper can boost your confidence levels. But this is the extent that I'm going to take it to. The second part, which is critical, is working on what you've written down. The part where you put in your efforts. And I don't believe that you have to struggle in order to put in the efforts. I've made a whole different episode on why I think struggling with your goals is unnecessary, so you can check that out later if you like. Now let's talk about what is going to work instead of just doing a regular goal setting exercise. Over the years, I have come across several clients who've told me that they've tried goal setting, but they still find it difficult to work on their goals. Whenever I have come across such clients, I always ask them, what are they doing to achieve their goals? I ask them for cold, hard evidence of exactly what steps they've taken to move toward their goals. And it's always fascinating to me that every single time the person has been unable to give me a list of concrete steps they have taken toward their goals. And this isn't in any way a judgment on someone who is well-intentioned and wants to achieve their goals, but somehow is unable to take concrete actions. Let me give you a personal example. For years, I struggled with emotional stress eating. I would eat every single time I felt low, discouraged, hurt, or any of those lower emotions. But once the emotion passed, I would swear that I'd never engage in stress eating. But you've guessed it, that every time I would find myself stress eating yet again. It was this vicious cycle, and I was saying that I didn't want to overeat or stress eat, but I wasn't doing anything significant to break that negative habit. I remember writing a lot about it, about wanting to stop. But if someone were to ask me what I was doing to break that negative habit, except my intention of wanting to stop, I didn't have any evidence that I indeed wanted to get out of that negative habit. It was only once I started applying coaching techniques on myself that I was able to finally break that negative habit among several others. Now, it's been several years where I've completely gotten rid of the need to eat away my feelings and be able to process difficult emotions healthily. And through my experience, I've learned that you can have the best intentions of wanting to do something, such as maybe you want to get out of a negative habit or cultivate a new one. But unless you take concrete steps, it's not going to happen. And there's this powerful quote that always reminds me of this truth. And I don't know who to credit it to, but it goes something like this. Intention always takes a beating without action. After struggling for years, I've created a simple method that works for me and my clients every single time I want to apply my intention and get things done. Now, before I share that with you, if you're struggling to get out of a negative habit, remember that it's going to take time and effort. And importantly, it's going to require you to be consistent with your efforts. And if you need additional help on that, you can certainly look up the Become Consistent Challenge. The details for that is mentioned in the description box below. Now, for me, the simplest way to work on your goals is to use something I designed and call the O.R.S method. And I'm not referring to the rehydration drink, but it could be for your goals if you think about it. Okay, jokes apart. Let's get into the O.R.S method of working on your goals. Step number 1 is observation. You're going to observe everything you're currently doing when it comes to that particular goal. So it looks like this. Let's say you want to start a side hustle while working on your full-time job. You've been writing about starting this side hustle. Maybe you've been thinking about it for weeks. But when you get honest about what you've been doing to move towards this goal, you realize that you've done nothing or hardly done anything. Now, observing what your actions have been toward your goals may not be an easy task. For one, you may start judging yourself when you realize that you've not done anything substantial to move toward your goals. If you start judging yourself for the actions you've not taken, it can cause you to get into a negative spiral and make you doubt yourself. And this is something that we want to avoid doing. The purpose of this step, the observation step, is to only get an objective and honest view about whether your desires and actions are aligned. Now, if you notice that what you want and your actions are aligned, then keep going. That's fantastic. But if you notice that what you say you want and what you're doing isn't aligned, then instead of beating yourself up, you can use that moment as a moment of opportunity to assess whether you truly want what you've been saying you want, or is it just a nice to talk about? And either ways, don't judge yourself, whatever comes up in your moment of observation, because what is true for you will be revealed if you pay attention and you observe what you have been doing with regard to your goal. The second step is reflection. Now, once you've taken a good look, let's say you've sat down for 10 minutes and contemplated your goal and you've looked at the progress that you've been making, what comes up? Are you able to see clearly the steps that you've been taking toward your goals? Can you see the weekly or the daily progress that you've been making? Or do you see that you've hardly done anything? Now, once you have this data, whether you have or have not been taking steps toward your goals, I want you to question yourself. These two things, actually. The first one is this goal truly important to you? How will you know? Well, if it's been a while and you've not done anything about it and you don't even maybe think about this goal for days on end, then maybe this goal isn't as meaningful to you. And second, ask yourself, do you want to continue talking about this goal, thinking that you're going to start one day, or perhaps is it time to release it? Now, whatever is true for you, again, will show up intuitively. This reflection step is deeply personal and only you can decide what is right for you. And the final step is support your goal. If you've decided to continue with this goal or even choose a new one, you want to write down what action steps you are going to take towards this goal. So let's go back to our earlier example of if you want to start a side hustle. Most people write something as vague as start a side hustle. Instead, my suggestion would be write down what side hustle you want to start and by when. Create a business plan, create a prototype, create a website, your launch plan, listing down what you are going to be doing, what actions you're going to be taking, and by when is a much better approach than simply writing down what you want to achieve. And the next step in supporting your goal is you want to get expert help to help you. This can mean taking a class, signing up for a course, getting a consultation, reading a book, or anything that is going to help you to take action toward your goals. Because remember, you can leverage the expertise of people who have achieved what you want to achieve. And it is much better than trying to figure things out on your own. And finally, have a log to document your concrete steps that you've been taking on a daily and a weekly basis, because this is going to inspire you in times when you don't feel inspired with your goals, and we all come across such times. Now, this method works brilliantly, and I can vouch for it that it's much better than simply writing down your goals. When you say you want to do something, you're either going to have to make the time for it, or you're going to go ahead and make an excuse, but you cannot do both. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Comment below and let me know what goals you're working on. I'd love to hear from you and cheer you on. If you're ready to become consistent with your life goals, then Become Consistent Challenge can help you to get in the groove of working on your life goals consistently. The link for that is mentioned below. Till next week, remember, you matter, your goals matter, and it's really up to you to make them happen. Take good care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.